want to leave you with some practical advice, that can hopefully help you win in the real estate transaction. And what are we talking about? It's negotiations. Okay, so Matt, we see transactions out there when we're looking out. We see some transactions fall apart sometimes because of poor negotiating skills. Okay, now when you're hiring a real estate professional, you want to make sure, obviously, that real estate professional has a ton of experience negotiating for your particular type of property. Okay, now what do we mean by that? Well, listen, it's not always just about price, and it's not always about I've sold houses before.
One thing I always operate on is that it's price only matters when there's an absence of value, right? So consumers across the board in any single industry, whether it's clothing, whether it's automobiles, whether it's housing market, they when they see the value in something, they'll always pay the price. And most consumers, the ones that are the best to deal with, will pay the higher price because they see the value in it. And when you hire a real estate agent, it's their job to match the value of whatever they're purchasing and to find that value add. And if that particular house doesn't meet the value needs of the customer, then you move on, or you get it at a price where it becomes valuable. And that's the important part of hiring somebody that knows what they're doing.
Exactly. Well, I mean, that all starts back from the get-go. So the negotiations actually start right from the beginning. You need to set your house up if you're selling your house or if you're buying a house. You need to be set up with the expectations of how this thing could pan out. Okay. So if we're talking about selling your house, okay, listen, here's where your house is valued at. You're going to have to be careful of, at this point, if we're listing it here, you're going to have to be careful about the home appraising. Okay, we're seeing that a lot right now. We're selling homes higher
big time
than they're actually appraising. Okay. 2, we need to make sure, like you said, Matt, that the value is there for people out looking. Now, if there's the same type of house, with like an updated kitchen or hardwood floors or whatever, and you have carpets and your kitchen is dated, and you're the same size, same amenities, bath, bed, you're not going to be able to go on the market at the same price as them because it doesn't warrant that. So you've got to make sure that, again, your expectations of what you can really and truthfully get for the house are clear, because you don't want to be disappointed later on. But let me take it back to the steps of negotiating. Now, when you're buying or selling a house, it's not only about the price, okay? It's about other factors as well that people don't really think about. And first off, we need to understand that negotiations, okay, doesn't mean we're going to go hammer somebody away. It means it's fair for both parties, okay? Now, I know that's not the negotiations is taken wrong a lot of times. It's a common misconception that people believe the best way to negotiate is to hammer down the other side. No. Negotiations, the best negotiations, okay, between labor unions, between different countries, international affairs.
Compromise.
And all of that is a compromise. Now, it doesn't always have to be on price. It can also be on closing costs, okay? So if you want to compromise as a seller, if you want to give the buyer closing cost incentives to purchase the home so they don't have to take $5,000 out of their pocket, well, maybe, you give $2,500 to that and allow the buyer to put $2,500 on the mortgage. Or let's talk about your closing date. Now, sometimes the date, okay, sometimes the buyer needs a prolonged closing date, or the seller does. So we can negotiate those terms so that they can accommodate your lifestyle right, okay? Because let's say if you're selling and you can't get into, let's just say if you're selling and going into a rental, okay? And you can't get into the rental until mid-month, but you're supposed to close at the beginning of the month. Now, when you're negotiating, maybe that term is more valuable to you than $1,000 or $2,000 at that point.
Exactly. Another thing I'm coming across is people trying to move into their new spots before school season starts.
Yes, and that's another big thing too. And there's some towns that used to allow you to send your kids to those school districts when you had a purchase and sales agreement. But towns like North Kingstown now, things are a little bit different there, and they're no longer doing it. But I know towns like North Smithfield, they do. So So again, and just to back up, to clarify that, if you have a purchase and sales agreement on a home in that town, you can start sending your children there before you close, okay? And in some points, it just takes a call from your real estate agent to the town maybe, or your title closing attorney maybe to make a call to the town. We can help out as well to clarify what's going on there.
Absolutely.
Okay? Financial contingencies, and that would be, your mortgage contingency date, okay? Now, sometimes, you can negotiate that time frame as well. Home warranties, okay? That's a big one that a lot of people overlook. Now, when you're in the inspection phase and buyers are asking for, they're worried about this or that breaking down years to come or whatever it may be, the seller can offer them a home warranty for $500-600 that will cover that house for the first 12 or 13 months of them purchasing it. Okay. There's also home repairs, appraisal contingencies, furniture, appliances, and so forth. I mean, there's a lot of things that we can negotiate in there for buyers or for sellers, okay? And the way to set up the contract with these different things, you've got to do it in a precise manner, and an experienced realtor is going to know how to do that, because I know mortgage companies don't want to see furniture on the purchase and sales agreement. That's private property, and we don't want to have the appraiser go in and try to put a value on the furnishings. So you got to put that on a separate addendum, okay?
Furniture, trailers, campers, John Deere tractors.
Private property.
Don't want to see any of it.
Snow blowers, mowers, anything like that. I mean, it's okay to put appliances and whatnot on there. I mean, that's pretty basic. And homes, a lot of times will have appliances there when you're buying. But again, you want to keep that in mind. And the best and biggest advice that we can tell you when you're buying or when you're selling is again, look at. And it's hard to say, like, when you've been in a house for 20, 30 years, you have a lot of memories there, that you're not going to get emotionally attached to the negotiation parts, okay? Because you have a perceived value of what your home is worth, but the market dictates what the home is worth, okay? So, and this is always one of the hardest conversations that we have to have, because sometimes it's a lot less. Sometimes it's $50,000 less. Sometimes it's $5,000 less. Sometimes it's $5,000 or $10,000, $15,000 more. We love having those conversations with people, But you got to emotionally remove yourself from the numbers part of the transaction. Again, even if you're buying, because at the end of the day, those numbers have to make sense for you financially. They have to make sense for you with what you want to do, with what your goals are, what your monthly payment should be if you're buying, or with what that nest egg needs to be if you're selling, okay? So there's a lot of it that goes into it, and we can sit down with you and explain any of this stuff, answer any questions for you. So make sure to look back on the roundtableradio.com. You can check out our previous, shows like we were talking about before, and you can check out our videos with a ton of great content in there to answer some other questions, or you can click the contact button and you can contact us directly for any, information that maybe we have not had the time to cover here. Okay, so thank you so much for being a part of the show.